So we are a group of people interested in how to train journalists and bloggers and citizens in different parts of the world using a tool, a digital tool that can allow us to train too many people at a time, thousands of people at a time, in order to learn digital and physical security protocols. This is that's the team. This is a combination, a very super combination of technologists and journalists from different parts of the world. We are from Central America, Mexico, Pakistan, the USA, and Africa. We have the honor of having Cassie Fazli Assem that created a super platform, online platform at the MIT to experience the massive learning tool. And so the need for us is that journalists in the world that are working in dangerous areas don't know almost anything about security protocols. They don't know how to protect themselves. They face too many dangers, and most of the dangers are really deadly dangers. So there is a need to train too many people in different parts of the world in security protocols. This is a really real need in some parts of the world. So what we need to have is a tool that allows us to train those people, to reach the most people that we can at that time. So I'm going to ask Joshua to continue this presentation.
Our part is very brief. We identified what the risk situations are because we're developing this for journalists, whether you call them bloggers. If there are people informing journalists, then there are the people involved in risk of some kind. And so what are the risk situations? And we thought organized crime and illegal business practices, if a journalist is writing to reveal any of those things, they are at risk. And war and armed conflict, Syria, whichever place, you will be at risk. If you're reporting about a repressive regime or human rights abuses, that puts you at a great risk. And of course, there will be things like natural disasters. Those ones do not necessarily involve human beings, but they put you at risk, and so you need to know how to protect yourself. Epidemics as well fall under the same category. If you're reporting about systemic corruption, the corrupt people do not want someone to get in their way, and so they are the people who will want to nick your laptop and get all the information that you have, and so you need some training on how to protect yourself. And public protests, situations that could start peacefully, can change so quickly. And so how do you deal with that? And the tool that we are developing will help journalists know how to deal with such situations. And of course, political campaigns and so on. If you stand in the way of some dictator staying in power because you want to reveal that he is rigging the election, you are at risk. Carol will continue with that. Thanks.
Sure. We were also talking about like different contexts, and then just one thing I want to really reiterate is that we're not really focused on how whether someone considers themselves a journalist or a reporter. It's really the activities that people do that put them at risk. So we're really focusing on anyone that's doing these high-risk activities that will put them in danger or will put them at some kind of risk. And so we had some kind of, in different countries that we work in, there's different contexts for how journalists are dealing with different risk. And again, it's also, we tend to normalize the risk when we're in those countries, meaning that we get kind of used to certain risk and we go, oh, well, all my friends who are journalists are getting, extortion calls at least once a day, so that's normal, right? Well, it's actually not. So like in Mexico, like we were talking with Jorge Luis about like how often journalists are blackmailed and harassed when they report corruption and narco trafficking, because that's a big problem in our region. And in Guatemala and Honduras, like anyone really reporting on government officials tend to be at risk because we had a coup d'etat in Honduras, and Guatemala right now is remilitarized. Pakistan also has very similar problems, and there's also a technical component to journalists doing their jobs safely. In Kenya and other countries in Africa, I mean, we just had this really great discussion about the different types of risks that journalists and people doing reporting on, activists, folks are putting themselves into. So that kind of gives you a sense of what we're talking about in the context. And Azim is going to talk about a little bit about the platform and what we're thinking about as far as a MOOC.
Massive open online courses, they've been around for a slightly long time, but now the technology is pretty much, it's well been tested out. There's a lot of platforms out there. So we want to create a system that allows easy dissemination of knowledge from experts about security, strategies, tools that would teach journalists essentially, and of course citizen journalists, and about risky activities, behaviors. Again, a lot of this has to, we're trying to create a platform that sort of ties all of this together. So I'll just continue. Yeah. So MOOCs have been tested out. There are a lot of, the technology component is pretty strong. It's an online course. I think most of this is pretty standard. Yeah. So
Wait. Did you draw that picture? Let's go back to that.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's like,
So they're cheap, they're easily accessible, and they're being used for a lot of things. There's not a lot of MOOCs, I don't think there's one right now about this particular topic, specifically for journalists. We're trying to think of situations where you probably want to put a login on it, maybe not have this information directly out there in public. Yeah, so we're not really looking to reinvent the wheel. There are a lot of platforms existing. Coursera, edX, they have a systematic approach to it. The structure of chapters, and you have videos, you have text, you have quizzes, so you can easily check progress. And so the user experience, essentially, we're not really looking for a different thing, but we're looking to leverage an existing platform. So one possible solution existing, we could use ICFJ, Knight Foundation, WordPress, or places where journalists and activists can essentially go for training. We can easily repurpose and use existing syllabus. We talked about today and yesterday's workshops. We can easily leverage content such as that. A lot of, again, interesting organizations right now have that content. You can leverage it very easily. I'd like to pass on the next syllabus to
All right, we identified topics, and obviously we need speakers. And now in this room we have a treasure trove of information, and you guys as the best speakers. And if we don't mention anybody, it's just because the PowerPoint presentation will get very long. And also I can tell you that, like, I represent the international, the US Broadcasting Agency, where we have 60 languages, and in the languages that are not in this room, like Hausa, or Swahili, or Khmer, or Dari, you name it, we've got it. So we have all these experts in addition to your expertise. So just disregard, all the names that we have here, or add any more names that come up to your mind, or and offer your services, your expertise, which will be much appreciated. So, give it the spotlight. I have a PC, so we get no worries. See, like assessing and responding risk to standard and practice, and organized crime, natural political disasters, you name it. Again. All the topics that we identified for proposed syllabus. Stress reaction, managing and verification of sources. So you can offer the richness of expertise, ethics and professionalism. We apologize if we didn't add some names. We were in a hurry. And guide to reporting human rights stories. Technologies to keep you safer. You offered wonderful presentations today on encryption, information gathering, mobile technology, anonymization. So again, all the names that you've seen here is just a partial list. It's a draft. We are very welcome, welcome your suggestions and your volunteer services. And welcome aboard. Thank you.
Yeah, we also talked about recruitment as the project grows and how we're going to reach out beyond some of the people in this room so that we can do training beyond just the experts here. They're also going to need to do some follow-on actions. Designing wireframes, again, recruitment into the system, designing a final syllabus, design of the MOOC beyond sort of the prototype standard, and actually launching it. We talked about distribution in a couple of different phases. Phase one you might think of as sort of a prototype phase, in which case we might be working with some of the people here. TechCamp kindly offered maybe a page with a secure login on their site to get things off the ground, and we can do promotion via many of the partners in this room. Phase two you might think of as if we had this as an actual course that we were using to train other people beyond the prototype phase. We could expand to actually host it on some other site. We mentioned some of those already. We could do in-person training for people who aren't able to access that. We could promote it via social media or maybe roll out some of the resources themselves via email lists. And for those with a lack of web access, maybe some of the materials could be made over radio, mobiles, flash drives, or maybe we could do, if people could get bits and pieces of resources, some follow-ups, some tips and reminders via SMS.
Oh, sure. Will you help me do the video?
Who's the film production team on this? Oh, no, I have, okay. Anyway, so we actually did do a video of what it would look like. Jamie was actually really kind enough to create, we would actually start with TechCamp first. The idea being that we kind of all need some fundamentals on security and and we actually need to start with ourselves as far as training ourselves on that, and then we could actually become the training of trainers, the core team that goes out. And so we did our first video. Annie, do you mind if we play it? Annie's like, I don't know. Anyway, so this is what it was sort of, it's kind of like, she's kind of a guinea pig in this, and so we did a quick video, and we included the tutorials in there of how you would actually set up an account in Martis and a lot of other links. That Annie did a really good job of just sending us that, providing us that information. So, let me see.
That allows journalists to collect information that they're already collecting around interview data, sources, and they can even use a template to communicate with their editors. It's something that's free and available. Martis is free and open source. The template is something that's available for anyone to use out of the box. You can contact us and learn more at martis.org. And I'm going to show you a little bit really quickly what this template looks like.
Yay! And I'm going to log out of this. Always log out of your account.
The last slide is so cool. Farah, the last
You're
slide.
missing the last.
Yeah.
Was it the last one?
No,
Yeah.
you're missing it.
What are we missing?
The last slide.
Oh, the last slide. Sorry. This is
This
really,
is-
really
no,
important.
no, the
Okay,
last
I'm
one.
going. Where's that? Sorry, guys.
The 26th.
We need you to help us train. All right, that's it.